All right, well, thank you for coming tonight. My name is Chris Stovall with Thomas & Hutton Engineering Company out of Savannah, Georgia. And we're here tonight to talk about the North Mainland 2016 SPLOST project, North Mainland Sewer Rehabilitation Project. A cured in place pipe process, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But we looked at several different options on how you could rehabilitate sewer. But the first thing I wanted to do was kind of go through the current situation where we're at. So where we're at right now is over the last 3-4 months, especially along Whitlock Avenue, if any of you have driven out that way, there's been several sinkholes have developed out there. And that's because the sewer line has actually collapsed in those areas and failed. Ground has collapsed over the top of it, and sinkholes have developed. The joint water sewer has had to go out and actually make some emergency repairs, very costly repairs to do that. And so as you can see in some of the photos we have, shows school buses going by, you've got a big sinkhole. It's very dangerous, you don't want that to happen. And there's been bypass pumping have to go along. You are disturbing people's homes, trying to get access to their property, doing that. And in particular, there's a very good picture that shows what the pipe actually looked like that after the failure. So it's concrete pipe out there, so it's a reinforced concrete with steel inside of it. And in one of the photos that you can see on the bottom left-hand corner is showing how it had actually fully collapsed on the top. And then if you look inside the pipe, you can actually see where it is still an intact pipe, but the steel reinforcement the concrete's been eaten away by the hydrogen sulfide, the gases in the sewer system that have eaten away the concrete to the point where the steel is showing. That's a very dangerous situation for the pipe. That's where we've seen these collapses in the main along the way. So what we're going to be doing is going to the next phase of it's a cured in place pipe process is what I talked about. You could have gone through and replaced every line out there, but the cost, the time in particular, and the disturbance to people's properties, erosion control, everything else that would have gone on a standard construction, we'll call it standard construction process, would have been much more difficult than the cured in place process. Cured in place, the best thing about it is that the pipe is installed going through existing manholes, other than maybe a couple of street closures or bypasses to get on a lane closure. There's just a couple of trucks out there, and otherwise you're not seeing the full construction that you would see with a standard digging holes, burying pipe, and covering back up. And so in this case, when we're doing it, what's started out there is that we've gone through and cleaned all these sewer lines beforehand. And again, all this work we're doing, unfortunately, you'll never really see it after these videos you see today, because, and it's what we want to do is protect the environment, but it's something you really won't see in the public's eye over time. But it is very important that we're doing it. In this case, we're cleaning the lines before we go in and line the pipe. And so there'll be a hose basically pushed down through the pipe with a jet. It's like having a squeegee taking water and jetting out. And then you actually suck it out with a vac truck, suck out grit and rock and stone and other stuff out of there. Take that to a disposal site that goes through the city system or down through the joint water system. So next slide. The next phase, after you have the line cleaned, actually go in and video the line to really see what the condition of the main is in. And yeah, we could send somebody down and walk through there with their VCR camera. They're going, it'd be great. And but in this case, we can use some robotic cameras to go down there for us. They like it a lot better than us down there. At least they don't mind it so much. So you have a camera that's on some wheels. It's just a robot. Lower it down into the manhole. You can see in the second picture, and then that just tracks down from a person in a remote station using a joystick. So it's kind of cool. You get your robot driving down a sewer line, and he's at the same time he's reviewing it looking at the video, the picture on the right is showing actual video of what that sewer looks like inside. And it is not the prettiest thing in the world. It's still half full of water. This line in particular has a lot of cracks in it. There's joint separation, and it's in very poor condition. That's what we're looking at on our project right now. So the operator of the equipment will go through and log in to say, here's where I see cracks, here's where I see repairs that need to be making to the lines. Then they'll give that report to us, and we can determine what's the best plan of action for lining this sewer. Okay. So the CIPP process is it's fairly tried and true at this point. It's been around for about 30 years. The process basically, after you have the lines cleaned, you videoed them. We go through, make sure this is the best process we want to use. We determine what the thickness of this pipe material needs to be. Then you bring it out and you actually install it. It's a resin impregnated sock, basically. It has this resin, so a plastic material, but until you add a catalyst to it, it'll just stay hard. As soon as you add the catalyst to it and add heat, it'll start hardening up into actually a hard plastic material. So time is of the essence once you add that catalyst to it, and we'll talk about that more. I've got a little process slides I'll show you as well. But in this case, you take that resin-saturated sock and then invert it and actually push it in with water, or you pull it in throughout the pipe from one manhole to the next. Then you fill it with water, or it can be with hot air, and then you either heat the water or steam then that reacts with this catalyst and the plastic in there, melting the pipe into place. The best thing about CIPP work, there's also other types where you can just slide a hard pipe through, but it leaves an annular space around the pipe. CIPP work, when you're using these resinous socks, they are expanded and push against the pipe so that you have no spaces around it, very tight seals, and that's very important down the road so that we don't get any additional water behind the pipe or inside between the two pipes. So after you've heated it up, it'll cure over about a 6 to 8 hour period, and for each section of pipe. And then you can cut the ends off once you're done, let the water drain out, and that section of pipe is ready to go. Now there are some times when there might be a sewer lateral along the route along that section of manhole where you have to go back in, and that shows in the last slide, is actually send another robot down that goes down and actually cuts a hole in the pipe, and you've logged that in beforehand. You know exactly where it's at. And you'll see a little dimple where the pipe expanded out and actually left a little dimple in it, so you know where to go in and cut. And you can open up new laterals. So on this project is really nice because there are very few locations where we have residential service laterals tied in. I think it's a handful, and we will be getting with those homeowners to say the main thing, we can hold the waste stream in the line for a number of hours. We may come up and leave a door tag or something to say, please don't wash clothes over the next 4 or 5 hours, and we'll work with each individual in those couple of locations, but there's very few. For the rest of the sewer is all being bypass piped around this area, so we don't have to worry about it, but there are just a few places where there could be a 4 to 6 hour window of time, and we would say, only flush for serious numbers. So, okay, so next slide. So this, you love that one. Okay. You finally got it. Okay. So, so this shows the material that's going in. So it's that resinous fiber sock, and it has the plastic inside of it, and it comes off a line where you call it a wet out, where you add the catalyst in, and it comes off this machine that squeegees and makes sure the catalyst is getting full contact with the resin, and it comes off into some pallets that are loaded onto a truck. Again, I said this was temperature sensitive, so that is loaded into typically either a refrigerated truck, or you actually have to add ice on top of it to keep it keep it from starting to melt. And in our case, our pipe is coming from Patterson, Georgia, which is only an hour away, so that really worked out really nice here, is that we're able to get it shipped very quickly, and it shouldn't be a problem. But it is then pulled in off the back of the truck and then taken straight down the pipe and either pulled in or, as I said, you can push it in with the water and invert it and push it down the line. Okay. So after the project's done, again, each section of pipe takes maybe a 6 to 8 hour for the size pipe. We're dealing with fairly large pipes. It's 30-inch diameter pipe, so about that big. It takes about 6 to 8 hours to heat the water up to the correct temperature, let it cure for a couple of hour time frame, and then once it has met and it's being tested along the route, so you know what the temperature is throughout the pipe. There's sensors in their equipment that show you, yes, we've met the curing time and temperature. You can then cut the ends off, let the water drain out, and that line is back going again. So the picture on the left is the before. That's the one we saw earlier with all the cracks in the main. The one in the middle is the after. So it is basically smoothed out. The couple of joint deflections are still a little bit you can see, but it makes it a very smooth pipe. And then so that you kind of get an idea of what it is the right picture shows what the existing pipe, taking in a section view out of the existing pipe, and then what that CIPP liner looks like inside. Again, it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. It makes your pipe slightly smaller, but it also makes it much smoother. So you're actually running about the same, if not a little bit more capacity through a little bit smaller pipe. And so after that, that's only half the project. The pipe lines are in bad shape, but the manholes along the route are also in relatively poor condition. So threw some pictures up of some before and afters of what the manholes will look like. Now this will take a little more time. Again, it's just a truck close at one manhole station. So it's not like we're tearing up large areas or anything like that. So there'll still be some traffic issues, but it's one-lane closures just to get around where they're working on a particular manhole. But this one shows some manholes are brick manholes. In our case, most of them are concrete manholes, but they have deteriorated a lot. This one you can see at the top, the bricks have kind of rounded and hydrogen sulfide has gotten to the brick here. And the end picture is after we go through, and it'll actually be a kind of a gunite material, is sprayed on and then troweled on, and it ends up looking like a nice smooth manhole on the inside. The Joint Water Sewer Commission has, over the years, have done a number of tests on different types of materials to use, and so it's kind of a great testing ground. We were talking about it earlier today, is that you have about 16, 18 years experience of looking at different types that were put in the past, and what we're using here, this grout material, is what has worked out best for this location. So it's a great experiment, and now you kind of know what to go with from the future. So the next slide just shows as the pipe's going, or as the manhole rehab is going along, you can see on the first slide, you can still see the brick where it's been sprayed. They'll do a coating of about 1/2 inch thick on here and then go in and trowel it in, so it's a nice smooth finish in the end. And sometimes, we're not going to do it on this project, but the last picture shows you can put an epoxy liner on there. Sometimes it's a painted on liner on top of that. But otherwise, these manholes will be back fully structurally sound, just like the pipe. Oh, and the pipe is also going to be actually stronger than it was before because you've supported it. And we will be replacing manhole covers throughout the project as well, so that basically a brand new system that's going to last many decades. And then the last slide here is just showing the route. It's a little difficult to see, but basically the extents of the project go from B&W Road down Old Jessup Road to Whitlock, and then through the neighborhoods down to 4th Street. I don't know, Todd, you know the exact places, Jason?
Here's a list of all the roads.
Yeah, okay, great. And so Corson Street, Cedar Street, Magnolia Street, 9th Street, State Route 27 in the Palmetto Cemetery. There'll be a section through there where we're replacing manholes only. Reynolds Street, 2nd Street, Peninsula Avenue, and T Street, and then the end is at Academy Creek Treatment Plant. And so most of the line work, the sewer line work, is taking place along B&W Road, Old Jessup, and Whitlock. Most of the other sections have been lined. The pipe has been lined in the past, but we're going to be going through and repairing the manholes the entire route. It is about 6,000 feet of CIPP sewer and 72 manholes that will be done as part of this project. So it's a rather intensive project, but from a homeowner standpoint, you really won't notice a whole lot, and that's a good thing. And that's the whole reason to do the type of no-dig repairs that we're doing. Much less disturbance to homeowners and a much more efficient job. So that's the formal presentation. I was going to open it up to any questions anybody has, and see if there are any. Yes, sir.
Mr. Stovall, so looked like a lot of corrosion in that system.
Yes.
So what exactly causes that corrosion?
Well, so the hydrogen sulfide gases, I won't get vulgar, but I'll say the poop breaks down over time. And the issue with the system here in Brunswick is that it's very flat here. So you have a lot of sewer and force mains in particular, and where you're pumping your force main with no air or anything into the line. So you build up a lot of this hydrogen sulfide gas. And that's going to happen anywhere, but it's even greater here in the Brunswick, in the coastal areas where it's very flat. In this particular case, with the corrosion on that pipe, that's a concrete, reinforced concrete pipe. The concrete itself is very susceptible to corrosion from hydrogen sulfide. You could also use ductile iron pipe, would have a very similar issue. And these days, in general, we typically use PVC pipe as our pipe for gravity sewer. And so that's what you're, in effect, you're getting in the end here is a PVC interior of your pipe. And again, it is very unsusceptible to hydrogen sulfide corrosion over time.
What kind of lifespan should we expect to get out of the CIPP process versus replacing the entire pipe?
Well, if you went back with PVC pipe, you would get a very similar lifespan. Typically, you would say a minimum of 40 years out of any pipe system, and PVC pipe has now been around for 55 years, and when you see it in the sewer situation, hydrogen sulfide is never an issue that you ever have with it. I'm sure it's going to last longer than that, much longer than that. So now the pipe that's been in there is about 50 years old, and so it served its life. But now we're just going to go in and we're going to give it a minimum, I would say, of another 50 years life.
I have a question on the impacts as the construction's underway. Like, how will you communicate like road closures or maybe how residents in the area are trapped from the impact?
And so one of the things we'll do is by using the JWSC's site, we'll post notices here. We also will get with the county information officer to post some things, especially to schools, to the school board, to say we are going to be in this area. And it's just in terms of if a school bus stop needs to change, we will, we'll have to work with them to make sure they understand that maybe the kids have to walk for a day or two, may have to walk an extra half a block down the road because the bus can't make it down that street. So that's a good point, is that we will be making those, start making those formal announcements as we get into the project. So far, they've been doing just the cleaning work. We're looking at starting the actual lining work in probably about 2 weeks or so.
Would residents have to be concerned with noise?
On this project, the only noise we have is on the bypass pumps, and we actually specified a quiet pump. So there may be a small amount of noise from that, but it is well below the noise ordinance numbers. And again, it's only in one location where this will be. It's not near residential as much right in that particular spot where they're set up right now. So the work that actually goes on during the actual liner work, there's very little noise at all. Nothing like if you're digging pipes in the ground.
Is the work mostly at night or?
Most of the work will be during the day, but because of the size of the pipe and the length of time, you have to let the pipe cure. We will be doing some work overnight. There's a few places where we know we'll have to do that. Again, the disturbance to individuals, it is a quiet project. There's actually been a couple of cleanings and emergency repairs that were done in the past, and I don't think there were any negative calls in or anything about that work. It got done, and it's as quiet as it can be. So.
Should our residents call if they have a question or concern during this project?
They should call into the JWSC office, should they, not sure the name, should it be Jason? So.
Yeah, you're welcome to give me a call. My name is Jason Vo. I'm the project manager for the JWSC. I'm readily available. Or you can post it on email, and then I can answer it. My email is jvo, V-O, @bgjwsc.org.
Okay. Right.
It's a very interesting process, and I mean, how would a citizen have an opportunity to maybe come out and see this stuff happen?
Well, I think that can be arranged through Jason at the, just call in, and I think there will probably be some videos along the way if you don't want to actually stand out in the heat, since it's fall, but it's still pretty warm out. I'm sure we'll be posting some videos and some other items up online, and we actually have some of those videos tonight, so folks, if we have time afterward, we can take a look at those as well. But I would suggest to touch base with the commission, and I'm sure a time can be set up for a tour.
What's the length of this project? How long will it take?
So it's set up to be done by the end of the year. So we're going to have, like we said, the cleaning of the lines is in progress now. The lining work will start within about 2 weeks' time, and so that's about a 6-7 week time frame of the lining. Then also the manhole repair work will be beginning kind of once the liner has gone in, the manhole repair work can start on those areas, and they'll be following behind on that. So it'll be done relatively, basically by the end of the year. All right.
Are they going to work through the holidays or?
In general, the JWSC is closed during those times. We've discussed with them to any work that happened needs to be approved beforehand. And again, the biggest key is not to have any disturbance to homeowners, especially during holiday times. We don't want to be blocking driveways, blocking access or anything. So if it's work that could be done, I think that's being allowed on a case-by-case basis. But we will definitely work with the contractor, and if there was any areas that a resident could in any way be potentially, have an impact, we will get with them to make sure that would be okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming, and you can leave any messages with JWSC, and if you have any messages for me afterward, we can get together then. All right. Thank you.